There's something your hamster does every single day that most owners completely misread. And I'm not talking about something rare or difficult to notice. I'm talking about one of the most common, everyday moments you've probably seen 100 times without ever realizing what it actually meant. Your hamster has been sending you a message, a real, consistent, deeply emotional message, and almost nobody catches it. Before I tell you what it is, I need you to think about this for a second. When was the last time you sat down near your hamster's cage and just stayed there, not feeding them, not cleaning, not moving the wheel or rearranging the bedding, just being present, just existing in the same space as them? If you're like most hamster owners, the honest answer is not very often. And that's not a judgment. That's just the reality of how we interact with these tiny animals. We think of hamsters as low-maintenance pets. We fill the food bowl. We change the water. We maybe let them run the ball for a few minutes. And then we go about our day. But here's what the science of animal behavior has been quietly revealing for years, and what most hamster owners have never been told. Hamsters are not low-emotion animals. They are small animals with enormous emotional lives happening completely underneath the surface. And they express those emotions in ways so subtle that we walk right past them every single day without ever noticing. And the behavior I'm about to show you is the most powerful example of that. It's a behavior that your hamster performs when you are nearby. It's a behavior that only happens in specific emotional states. It's a behavior that, when you learn to recognize it, changes everything about the way you understand your hamster's relationship with you. Because once you see it, you realize something that most owners never get to realize. Your hamster has been paying attention to you this entire time. Your hamster knows you. Your hamster has feelings about you. And your hamster has been waiting, sometimes for months, sometimes longer, for you to finally notice and respond. The moment you do, everything shifts. The bond between you and your hamster reaches a completely different level. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what that behavior is, what the research behind it says, what it looks like in real life, and most importantly, what you can do right now, today, to give your hamster what they've been waiting for. But first, I want to make sure you understand just how significant this is. Because this isn't just about a cute moment between you and a small furry animal. This is about understanding the emotional architecture of a creature that most people massively underestimate. Hamsters are not simple. They are not robotic. They are not just little machines that eat, sleep, and run on a wheel. They are animals that form real attachments, that experience real stress, that feel real comfort, and that respond to the presence of a trusted person in ways that, once you know what to look for, are completely unmistakable. So stay with me through this entire video, because each section builds on the last and the final piece. What you actually do to meet your hamster in this moment is what makes everything click. If you're watching this and you own a hamster, or you're thinking about getting one, hit subscribe right now, because this channel is built entirely around understanding what's really going on inside the mind of your hamster. Every video goes deeper into the psychology, the behavior, the hidden emotional signals that these animals send us every day. Hit the like button if you want the YouTube algorithm to show this to more hamster owners who need to hear it. And drop a comment right now. Where in the world are you watching this from? I want to know where our hamster community is coming from. Tell me your country, your city, whatever you feel like sharing. Let's see how far this reaches. Now, back to the behavior. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your hamster's brain. When you walk into the room, hamsters have a nervous system that is constantly scanning for two things: threat and safety. That's the core of their entire existence from an evolutionary standpoint. They are prey animals. In the wild, the wrong move in the wrong direction means they don't survive. So their brains are hardwired, not learned, not trained, to assess every single stimulus in their environment and immediately classify it as safe or dangerous. You, as their owner, started out in the unknown category. When you first brought your hamster home, you were just another large, unpredictable creature in a world full of threats. The scent was unfamiliar. The movements were unpredictable. The sounds you made were unclassified. And so your hamster did what hamsters do when everything is unknown. They stayed hidden, they froze, they waited. But something happened over time. Your scent became familiar. Your movements became predictable. Your voice became associated with food, with safety, with consistency, and slowly, without you necessarily doing anything dramatic or intentional, your hamster's brain began to reclassify you. You move from unknown threat to something else entirely, something that the science of animal behavior has a very specific name for, and something that changes everything about how we understand what your hamster feels when you're nearby. And that brings us to the behavior itself. The scientific term is social buffering, and it sounds complicated, but the concept is beautifully simple. It means that the presence of a trusted individual, a being that the animal has learned to associate with safety, physically reduces the stress response in the nervous system of that animal. This isn't a theory. This is an assumption. This has been documented in peer-reviewed research across dozens of species, from primates to rodents. And yes, rodents, which means hamsters. Small animals with a nervous system that, under the right conditions, responds to the presence of a trusted person the same way a dog responds to its owner coming home, or the way a child calms down when a parent enters the room. Your hamster's heart rate drops. Their cortisol levels decrease. The constant scanning for threats slows down. Their body, on a biological level, registers your presence as safe. Stay. Relax. And here's the part that most owners never get to experience, because they don't know to look for it. Your hamster has a set of physical behaviors that they perform specifically in this state. Specifically when they feel that social buffering effect. Specifically when you are near and their nervous system has shifted from alert to calm. These behaviors are not random. They are not meaningless. They are your hamster's version of telling you, I feel safe with you. I'm glad you're here. The first one is what researchers call relaxed grooming in proximity. In the wild, hamsters groom themselves in safe, hidden locations. Grooming requires a moment of lowered alertness. You can't fully groom and fully scan for predators at the same time. So when a hamster chooses to groom while you are present in an open, visible location, without running away or hiding, that is a deliberate act of trust. Their brain has decided that you make the environment safe enough to be vulnerable in. That is not small. That is enormous. The second behavior is slow stretching with exposed belly. You may have seen this and thought it was just your hamster waking up and having a little stretch. And sometimes it is that. But when it happens near you, when your hamster moves toward the side of the cage where you are and then stretches out, sometimes even rolling slightly to expose their softer underside, that is the most physically vulnerable position a prey animal can place themselves in. Belly up, movement slowed, guard completely down. They are telling you, in the clearest physical language they have, that they are not afraid of you, that your presence feels like shelter to them. The third, and this is the one that most owners see and completely misinterpret, is what I call the freeze and orient. Your hamster suddenly stops whatever they're doing. They turn to face you directly. Their whiskers are moving rapidly, reading every particle of scent in the air. Their eyes are wide and locked on you, and they just stay there, looking at you. Most people see this and think, oh, they heard something, they're scared, they're on alert. But watch what happens next. If it were fear, your hamster would retreat. They would move toward the hide, toward the bedding, toward any covered space they could find. But they don't. They stay facing you, sometimes for 5, 10, 15 seconds. Just looking, just taking you in. This is not fear behavior. This is recognition behavior. This is your hamster's brain saying, I know that being. I know that scent. I know that presence. And I'm choosing to stay. Now here's where it gets even more powerful. Because what your hamster is actually doing in those moments, the grooming, the stretching, the long, quiet gaze, is something they can only do when they feel a specific combination of emotional states that is, for a prey animal, extremely rare to feel in the presence of another being. They feel calm, they feel curious, and they feel connected. All three at once, because of you. And most owners will go their hamster's entire life without ever realizing this is happening, without ever understanding that those small, quiet moments were their hamster reaching out in the only language they have, without ever learning how to reach back. Because reaching back, responding to those moments in a way that deepens a bond instead of accidentally breaking it, requires knowing something very specific about how hamster trust actually works. And it's almost never what people expect. Most owners, when they see their hamster looking calm and relaxed, instinctively want to reach in, to pick them up, to hold them. And here's where the connection either grows or collapses, because the way you respond to your hamster's trust signals has an enormous impact on whether they offer those signals again in the future or whether they slowly stop trying. Let me tell you exactly what that looks like and what to do instead. Think about what it feels like to finally let someone in, to decide, after a long time of being guarded and careful, to show someone a softer, more vulnerable version of yourself. And then imagine that the moment you do, the moment you let your guard down and signal that you trust them, they grab you, they pick you up without warning. They hold you against your will until they feel satisfied with the interaction, and then they put you back down and walk away. What would that do to your willingness to open up again? This is what happens to hamsters every single day in homes all over the world. Not out of cruelty, out of love, out of excitement, out of not knowing any better. The owner sees their hamster looking calm and happy, and they respond the way humans naturally respond to small, soft, adorable creatures. They reach in, they grab, they cuddle. And the hamster, whose nervous system just a moment ago was in a state of rare, beautiful calm, immediately floods with cortisol. The trust signal is gone. The body goes back on high alert. And somewhere in the hamster's brain, a very quiet but very real connection gets made. Openness leads to unpredictability. Calm leads to being grabbed. Safety is temporary. Over time, hamsters who are repeatedly handled this way stop offering those trust signals, not because they become mean or broken or bad pets, but because they've learned that the signals don't lead anywhere safe. They've stopped trying to communicate because communication hasn't worked. And the owners in these situations often say the same thing. My hamster just doesn't like me. My hamster is always hiding. My hamster never wants to come out, and they feel helpless and a little sad about it because they genuinely love this animal and they don't understand why the connection never seems to form. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is a part of this video that I need you to really sit with. It is almost never too late. Hamsters have shown the ability to rebuild trust even after prolonged periods of stress and disconnection, as long as the owner changes their approach and gives a hamster consistent, patient, correctly structured positive experiences. The hamster's brain is not permanently closed. It is waiting. It is still scanning. And it will recognize safety when safety is consistently offered. So, what does correctly structured trust building actually look like? What is your hamster waiting for you to do? The first thing, and this alone, done consistently, will begin to change everything, is presence without demand. This means you sit near the cage. You don't open it. You don't put your hand in. You don't tap the glass or make sounds or try to get your hamster's attention. You simply exist near them. You read a book. You watch something on your phone. You just sit there, and you do this for 10 to 15 minutes, once or twice a day. What you are doing is giving your hamster's nervous system repeated, low-stakes exposure to your presence. You are training their brain, on a biological level, to associate you with stillness and safety rather than unpredictability and handling. This is not a trick. This is not a shortcut. This is the actual mechanism by which hamster trust is built, and it is devastatingly simple, and almost nobody does it. The second thing is scent introduction, without contact. Your scent is one of the most powerful signals your hamster uses to categorize you. Before you ever put your hand in the cage, you can place a small piece of cloth that isn't against your skin, a worn sock, a small piece of a t-shirt, near or inside your hamster's sleep area. Let them investigate it on their own terms. Let them build a scent memory of you in a context that has nothing to do with being handled. This step alone has been shown in behavioral studies to significantly accelerate the trust-building process in rodents. The third thing, and this is where the real magic starts to happen, is hand presence at threshold. Once your hamster is consistently emerging during your quiet presence sessions, you begin to place your hand flat inside the cage, palm up, completely still, with a small piece of food resting on your palm. You don't move toward the hamster. You don't try to guide them or encourage them with sounds. You simply offer the hand and let the hamster make every single decision about whether to approach, when to approach, how close to come, whether to take the food and immediately retreat, or whether to stay a little longer. Every time your hamster makes that choice, every time they decide on their own terms to come closer, their brain releases a small reward signal, A little hit of dopamine associated with your presence, your scent, your hand. And slowly, session by session, that association builds into something that starts to look, from the outside, like what we would call love. Because that's what it is. Hamster love doesn't look like a dog's love or a cat's love. It's quieter. It's slower. It's built entirely from accumulated trust. But it is real and it is deep, and it is one of the most quietly remarkable things you can experience with an animal. And the behavior that I told you about at the very beginning of this video, the grooming in proximity, the slow stretch, the long quiet gaze, those behaviors will come back. But this time, when your hamster looks at you and stays, you'll know exactly what they're saying, and you'll know exactly how to answer. Let me bring everything together, because I want to make sure you leave this video with a complete picture of what we've covered, and more importantly, what you can do starting today. Your hamster is not a simple animal. Your hamster is not just running on a wheel and eating seeds and waiting for the day to end. Your hamster is an emotionally complex creature with a nervous system that is constantly reading the environment, constantly assessing safety, constantly making decisions about who and what to trust. And you, the person who feeds them, who lives in the same space, whose scent fills their world every single day, are at the very center of that calculus, whether you know it or not. The behaviors we talk about, the relaxed grooming while you're nearby, the slow stretch with the exposed belly, the long quiet gaze that most people mistake for blankness or fear. These are not random. These are your hamster's emotional vocabulary. These are the words they use when human language isn't available to them. And they're saying something incredibly specific. I see you. I know you. Being near you feels safe. The tragedy, the thing that breaks my heart a little every time I think about it, is how many of these moments happen in homes every single day, completely unnoticed. How many hamster owners have had their hamster sit and look at them for 10, 15 seconds, a tiny animal in a tiny body doing something that takes enormous trust, and thought, oh, they just heard a noise, and moved on. You won't do that anymore. After this video, you can't unsee it. And that matters more than you might realize, because the relationship between a hamster and their owner isn't built in dramatic moments. It isn't built in the big gestures. It's built in exactly these quiet, small, easily overlooked moments when a hamster decides that your presence is worth relaxing into and you decide that their trust is worth honoring. That's the whole thing. That's the entire foundation of what it means to have a real bond with an animal this small. Now, what I want you to do, starting today or starting tonight, whenever your hamster is most active, is try the first step, just the first one. Sit near the cage. Don't open it. Don't try to interact. Just be there. Set a timer for 10 minutes if you need to, and watch what your hamster does. Watch whether they emerge. Watch whether they orient toward you. Watch for the grooming, for the stretch, for the gaze. And if you see any of those things, stay still. Stay calm. Let the moment breathe. That is the first conversation. And if you pay attention, really pay attention, you'll realize your hamster has been trying to have it with you for a long time. If you want to go deeper, if you want to understand every single behavioral signal your hamster uses, how to build a kind of trust where your hamster actively seeks out your presence, what the research says about hamster memory and emotional bonding, and what you can do to give your hamster the richest, most emotionally full life possible, then this channel is exactly what you've been looking for. Every video I publish goes deeper into the psychology and inner emotional world of hamsters, using real behavioral science translated into something every owner can actually use. Not vague advice, not generic tips. Specific, research-grounded, practical understanding of what is actually happening inside your hamster's mind, and what to do with that understanding. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. The button is right there, and it's free. Hit the like button, because it genuinely helps this content reach other hamster owners who need it. And leave a comment below telling me, has your hamster ever done any of the behaviors we talk about in this video? The grooming near you, the long gaze, the slow stretch? Tell me about it. I read every single comment, and I want to know what your hamster has been trying to say to you. And if this video opened up something for you, if you watched this and thought about a moment with your hamster that you now see completely differently, share it. Send it to someone who has a hamster. Post it in a pet group. because there are millions of hamster owners out there who have never been told any of this, and their hamsters are sitting in their cages right now, performing these tiny, profound acts of trust completely unseen. Let's change that. I'll see you in the next video, and your hamster will be glad you stayed.